a feeling you'd come back and save me from all those lonely nights and heartbreaks. And I feel misplaced without you. Why don't we go back to, why don't we go back to? Never wanted to end it like we did. I guess shit happens for a reason, but it's like something feels different from back then. Why don't we go back to, why don't we go back to? Honestly, I'm open wide. I don't feel like waking up without you by my side. I still see your silhouette. Why don't we go back to, why don't we go back to your bedroom?
Boyfriend, girlfriend, fancy car, you're insatiable. You just want more. Climbing mountains, crushing your goals, but you put your happiness on hold. Still waiting to start living. You need to know you're beautiful, you're perfect just like you are. Release your control, start to let go. Take a night off and let yourself go a little crazy.
Pretty good. They didn't give me any napkins. It is what it is. Connecticut.
You've been struggling too long. Now it's time to move on. And tell the truth like you mean it. Listen to yourself and hear it. And you'll start to remember. You need to know you're beautiful, you're perfect just like you are. Release your control, start to let go. Take a night off and let yourself go a little crazy. Crazy, crazy. Release your control, let your body go a little crazy.
What's up everyone? Today I want to talk about if you should negotiate your first job salary. It's a highly talked about debate, especially if you're coming out of a bootcamp or a self-taught developer. You already know how hard it is to get that first job. Do you want to risk losing it for maybe $5,000 to $10,000? We'll talk about this next. Hey everyone, if you are interested in learning about self-taught developer stories, coding bootcamp graduate stories, or just how to break into tech, I highly recommend you to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel and you'll just stay up to date whenever I post. Anyways, back to the original content, right? Before I talk about this, full transparency, when I got my full-time software developer job, I did not negotiate. If you want to know what my first salary was in New York City, you can check out my other video here. Hindsight is 2020, and looking back, I 100% wish I negotiated before accepting. I was too excited about actually working as a software developer that I didn't realize my company was just as excited to have me on board as well. I was fortunate enough to land a job that also hired one of my Flatiron School classmates, and after a few months, we did talk about our salary. I found out that he was making around $10,000 more than I was. In the grand scheme of things, 6 years later, does that really affect my current salary? No, but at the time, the $10,000 extra income could have made a huge difference on my living situation. And that goes to the point of this video is, should you negotiate your first salary as a software developer? In my opinion, and I want to emphasize this, that this is my opinion, I believe you should. I thought about this pretty hard, and I don't want to steer any viewers down the wrong path, but if you've done the interview, passed the coding challenge, you're a good cultural fit, the company definitely wants you. Generally, there's going to be a budget for the role with the upper and lower band, so flexibility should exist. One important point that I want to mention is that knowing you should negotiate versus how you should negotiate is going to be very important moving forward. Remember, this is a negotiation and not an argument. There's definitely an art to a negotiation, and the last thing you want to do is be contentious or argumentative about salary differences. Generally, you're going to fall into one of two categories. Number one, you have 2 or more job offers. And number 2, you only have 1 offer. Let's talk about both scenarios. Scenario 1, you have 2 or more job offers. This is probably the best case scenario because you are desired by more than one company. You have options and you could definitely leverage the situation to your benefit. If the company you're more interested is paying less than the other company, let the first company know that you want to join them, but the salary isn't quite right. Get the vibes from the recruiter and see, do they really want you? If you feel like the company really wants you, then you can ask them to match or pay you a little bit more. It's a good situation to be in as long as you're able to express to the first company that you really want to work there, but the money isn't quite right, and you give off the vibes that you are trying to figure it out with them. I'm confident that you can work it out. If they do match or give more, please don't do this. Don't go to the other company and do the same thing, then ask the first company for even more money. At this point, you are in the wrong. You're basically fishing when you already have your fish. At this point, you're money chasing, and I want to recommend this back and forth narrative because the company will feel super disrespected. Scenario 2 is you only have 1 job offer, and this is pretty tricky, but not really. Unless you completely botch the negotiation process and make it very hostile, they're generally not going to rescind the offer. I want to emphasize the vibe should be more of a conversation between 2 individuals or 2 adults just trying to work things out. I don't want to compare this to being in a relationship and trying to resolve a disagreement, but in some ways they are similar. Obviously, when you're having a disagreement with your partner, you care for them, so you kind of come up with compromises. Similarly, the company wants you and you want to join the company. Let's just try to figure out a middle ground in terms of compensation, right? Some people do argue that, hey, you should just take the offer. This is your first dev job and you don't want to add any type of complexity. And part of me really wants to agree, but in my opinion, the delivery is really important if the negotiation is on your mind. So imagine they offer you $65,000, but you'll be happy with maybe $70,000 to $75,000. What do? Let them know and say, hey, I really love meeting the team. I really feel excited about working at company XYZ. I was hoping we could have a conversation about the total compensation package. While I appreciate the current offer, I was hoping to get closer to $77,000 based on the market rate. Is this something that we can work out? Honestly, at this point, when they've already done the vetting process and the interview, the last thing they want to do is to start all over again with a new candidate. Generally, the worst thing they can do here is say no. They'll probably mention a budget issue where they can't pay you anymore. But at this point, at least you could tell yourself that you tried. If they say no to you about a pay bump, you can ask them, hey, can we have a 3-month review? And if I am performing up to par with most of the developers, can we talk about total compensation changes then? So definitely try to leverage that in. In a successful scenario, they may not be able to give you the $77,000, but maybe they'll give you something in between saying, hey, we can't give you $77,000, but what do you think about $74,000, $73,000? And then you just take the offer and you're both happy. If they really do say no, you can try negotiating PTO and stock options. But at this point, I wouldn't really recommend it. There's a lot more value when negotiating for compensation than anything else. If you really feel passionate about alternative forms of compensation, I advise you to tread lightly because it's getting to the point where it's too much back and forth and it could potentially get hostile. Ultimately, getting that offer is a gift because a company is taking a chance on you. I highly suggest you not be too aggressive. Use a softer tone when negotiating your salary. If you're in a situation where you got your first job offer, I want to congratulate you and say good job, the hard part is over. But I do want to share my knowledge and tips when you do get that job offer in terms of a salary negotiation. So with that being said, for those of you that are looking or even just starting your journey, I say keep building developers, your time will come. Tech Rally out.